So I don't know who needs to hear this one today, but this has been coming up for me in my life in the last little while. It's time for a reminder, not only for you, but for myself, because this is how it's really going. There's been some things in my life that have been a little bit triggering, let's just say. I want to talk about the impact on how we react versus responding to the different things that happen in our life and in our businesses, how what we choose to do with what's going on in our life impacts our life in the future. And that's what I want to talk about today. So if you're here on YouTube, hello, welcome back. If you're on the podcast, hey everyone, super excited to be here. I didn't get much of a chance to record last week. I did share an epic training that I did about quantum moves that you can make in your life and your business. It was about 45 minutes, almost 50 minutes long. So if you get a chance, I did upload that last week. I'm hopefully going to be back with a bunch of recordings this week, starting with this one, and it's Monday. So I'm already off to a good start. Got a recording in on a Monday. Let's talk about this. So first of all, I want to just talk about triggers in general. And I'm just riffing on this here. So triggers, these are things that happen to us, right? They're things that happen in our world. So, we're all in our own little worlds, and there's things that are happening around us. And sometimes when things happen around us, whether it's somebody else that does something or something that happens in your life, or someone says something, or, there's multiple different ways that triggers can happen. When triggers happen, it's like you instantly feel this like, oh, like why, like what is this? And like, why did they do that? Or, it can trigger either sadness or anger. It can trigger, shame. It can trigger like all kinds of negative feelings like jealousy or envy, or typically come up when you are being triggered. My thoughts on triggers, first of all, is triggers are always for you. They're happening for you. And even though it doesn't feel like it in the moment, in time, when you can sit with the trigger for a bit, and when you intentionally sit with the trigger for a bit and you ask yourself, why is this bothering me? Why is this coming up? Why is this affecting me? Why is this impacting me? And you allow the feeling to be in your body. This is the thing. We're never, ever wanting to take feelings and push them away and push them down. Feelings need to be processed. They need to move through us. When we push them down, then that's just where they linger, and it's not good. It's just always going to be there. And the trigger is going to keep coming up over and over and over and over again until you deal with it. When you're triggered, my advice to you is to have an awareness. First of all, awareness is key to everything. Awareness is like where you have this ability to notice how you are feeling, how you are being in any given moment. Most people go through their lives on autopilot, and they're not being aware, and they're just literally reacting to everything that's going around, and they never take the time to stop and really question things. They're just literally on autopilot. So when you have inner awareness around yourself, self-awareness, then you have the ability to stop and shift and assess and change if you need to. And that is a critical element to creating a fulfilling life, is the awareness, because the awareness allows you to process. And if we're not processing, like I said, you're stuffing things down and they're just going to keep repeating themselves. So when you are triggered, it's having the awareness that you are being triggered. And then also having the awareness to ask yourself questions. Why is this bothering me? What about this situation is triggering me? Now, every trigger that happens, some of them you might be able to get to the root and be able to kind of clear those feelings and move on. Others, you might not. Others might take some time. They might have to happen a few times before you're actually going to be able to really pinpoint what it is that is triggering you. I've been reading a lot of books lately on self-awareness and how to clear current triggers, or, things that have been triggering you from your past, or any of those kind of things. I've been doing a lot of that interpersonal work. And one of the best books that I've read recently, well, there's two people I'm going to highlight here that I want to just share that have been helping me on this journey of self-awareness. One of the books is called Coming Alive by Phil Stutz and Barry Michaels. And they're both psychotherapists, but they do things in a bit of a different way. And they talk about these kind of things, triggers and things that come up in your life, and how to process emotions versus stuffing them down. I'm not going to go into all the things there, but it's an incredible book. And the other person that I listen to a lot that's really been helpful for me in creating a self-awareness and self-fulfillment, the other one is Kyle Cease. So I follow Kyle Cease on YouTube. He's got tons of great YouTube videos. He's got a free documentary on his book, The Illusion of Money, on his website, as well as his book, The Illusion of Money, which is about money, yes, but it is also about the inner feeling and inner awareness around where actually how we create abundance in our life and how it has nothing to do with actual money, but it's taking ownership of myself and my feelings. And I can't tell you how much of an impact that has on your life when you can take ownership for your life and your feelings. Because when you're triggered, you have a choice. It's always a choice on how you feel about the thing that is triggering you. The trigger is going to happen and you are going to have a reaction. There's probably going to be an instant reaction. And that instant reaction is probably not going to be great, right? You're going to feel that trigger. It's going to hit you, whether it's in your heart or, you're going to feel those emotions. But then you get to decide what you're going to do. Then you get to respond, right? So the thing that has the biggest impact on your life and your business is that choice that we have to react or respond to anything and everything that goes on in our life, triggers, just anything that's happening. And that's where our power lies, is in our choice on how we're going to feel about something. So if you're being triggered by something and you feel that trigger, you then have a choice. Sure, you're going to feel it and let it come in and be with it for a minute and process it. But then you have a choice to continue to let that bother you and continue to fester on it and continue to be like, why me? Why is this happening? Why did they do this? Why did she do that? All of those things. Or you can choose to respond, take a moment and go, wait, why am I feeling this way? What is it within me that is causing me to feel this? And then that's where your inner work starts. That's where you really have to go deep and answer some of those questions. And when you take ownership over your feelings, going, oh, I feel this way because when I was a kid, I got left out. And so now when people leave me out, I feel this hurt. I feel this unworthiness. That is an example of a trigger that a lot of people have. It's not the person, it's the way you choose to respond. So how you choose to deal with those triggers is a choice, and that choice can impact your future, because what I know for sure is how we feel inside. The energy that we have within us is what we are emitting. And whatever we are emitting, we are actually attracting back to us. It's the law of attraction, right? Like attracts like. So if you are being triggered by something and you are feeling hurt and shame and you're just not, it's making you angry and you're feeling those feelings, and then you carry those feelings around with you day in and day out, because, sometimes you can be triggered on a Monday and 3 weeks later, you're still festering over the trigger, right? So your attitude is negative because you're continually consuming and thinking and commiserating and continually to keep this trigger alive in your body, versus processing it, versus going, why do I feel this way? Doing that deeper inner work to get to the root of what it is. When you get to the root, it's not always fun and it's not always easy. It can bring up some really crappy shit. I find a lot of things come up either from my childhood, from my teenage years where, things happened and, we were younger and things happened. We didn't have this awareness to be able to process them the way we do now. I didn't have the information and, like I say, the awareness back then. So we just kind of hold on to them like they're little pieces of us. And then when those things happen again, it like reopens that trigger again and we feel those same feelings again. So until we do the work, until we go inward and do the work, and let me tell you, I am not a inner work kind of coach. I know, and I do my own, and I can support my clients to some degree in it. But this is literally just me telling you how it's really going in my own experience with dealing with triggers and doing this inner work. Okay. Just want to make that clear. When those things happen, we need to have the awareness that it's happening, take the ownership of the feeling, and then do that inner work. And then when we do that, then we can choose to feel differently, because we're not reacting. We're not just going, oh, this happened, why me, victim mode. And we stay in victim mode until eventually it just sort of dissipates. But here's the thing, we didn't deal with the trigger. So when it happens again, it's going to do it again. And guess what's happening when we're in that space of feeling victim? We're putting that energy out. And guess what the universe goes, oh, okay, here's more things to feel triggered by. Here's more things so that you can feel more of that. Because the universe doesn't judge. It doesn't care how you think or feel. It's just giving you back what you're putting out. This is why having an awareness around how you are thinking and feeling, because your thoughts really do create your feelings. When you have an awareness that you are in control of what energy you are emitting at all times, then when things happen, and they're going to happen because that's life, now you have the choice to react or respond. And sometimes reaction's just going to happen. It's human nature. But when you have the awareness, you can shorten the reaction time, and then you can stop, do the work, feel the feelings, ask the questions, regain control, shift the way that you feel, and move forward in that new direction. Now, let's be honest, let's be real here, because this is what I do. This ain't easy. This is not easy work. This is a lifelong practice. And this is something that I have been really practicing in my own personal life and in my own business life intensely, probably for the last year, is really just working on taking ownership over my own thoughts and feelings and responses to what's going on around me. It's not about being happy all the time. It's not about being, faking a smile and pretending like things aren't bothering you. That's not what I'm saying at all. It's about processing the things that are bothering you, getting to the root cause of why they're bothering you, and then releasing that, being with that, being okay with that feeling, almost like you want to just hug it for a minute and say, it's okay. I feel you. I see you. And then allowing the feeling to process and be like, this is coming from that situation. Remember, this happened to you when you were a kid and you felt this way. That's why this is bothering you now. And it's okay. Give that little kid a hug. Tell her she's fine. Tell her she's going to be okay. And then release it. And you know what happens? It's so interesting when you do this. So interesting. When I sit with a feeling and allow it to be in my body, it actually starts to dissipate right in the moment that I'm okay with it. Right in the moment that I acknowledge it, in the moment that I connect to where it's coming from, it actually starts to disintegrate in that moment. Now, when you don't do this work, it festers in your body and in your mind, and in you're talking about it with your friends, you're talking about it with your husband, and you can't let it go. And it's constantly going. To me, that's not the way to live, because you do have a choice. You're either choosing to let it fester and be in that energy, or you're choosing to shift your energy, process it, and move forward. And the thing is when you do that work, you're going from that negative trigger energy to I've released this neutral energy, and I would much rather be attracting from a neutral energy than a negative energy. So you might not go from, triggered negative energy to, oh my God, I'm so happy I could, cry, but you definitely can dissipate the negative energy into neutral and move from neutral, because it's easier to get to a positive state like joy, happiness, satisfaction from neutral than it is from anger. So the faster you can neutralize triggers and neutralize that energy, the faster you're going to be able to get to more of a positive place and start shifting the energy you're vibrating. Here's the thing. It's not a perfect practice. It's not about being happy 100% of the time, because that's impossible. Life is going to happen. Things happen to us. But if we can be even 51% in control of what we're experiencing and shift 51% of the triggers and shift 51% of the way that we're feeling. If we've been negative most of our life, and a lot of people they don't even realize it, because most people on autopilot don't even know 70% of their thoughts are negative. And 30% of those go unnoticed. That's fact. Can you imagine if you could get it to 51-49, the difference that it would make in your life? Because how you feel is what you attract. So if 51% of the time you were feeling positive, or you were feeling happy or joyful or satisfied, you know how much more abundance that is that you're bringing into your life? And this is why this work is so important. And it's why I talk mindset as much as I talk strategies, because we can strategy all day long in our businesses. But if we don't have the right attitude, we don't have the right mindset around the things that we're doing strategy-wise in our business, we're going to constantly be running into roadblocks and resistance, because we're putting out that strategy. And if we're not having a good attitude about the things that are going on in our strategies, because let's be honest, not all strategies work out, we're going to create more resistance if we don't take ownership over our feelings and make those shifts. That's why I say, having, when I say this is like one of the most important things you can do in your life and your business, it really is, because it shifts your vibration by taking ownership over your feelings and responding versus reacting. That shifts your vibration, and that vibration shifts what you're attracting back to you. So you'll find, if you can have a more positive attitude, if you can have an attitude of, okay, this happened, I'm going to learn from it and I'm going to keep going. If you can have that kind of attitude around the things that are triggering your life or the things that are happening to you in your life, you're going to find you have less and less triggers, less and less things like that happening into your life, because you're spending less time in that energy. So powerful. Whether if you're not an entrepreneur listening to this, it goes for your life in general. It goes for relationships. It goes for friendships. It goes for all the things. Now, I'm not saying that means that you have to, put yourself in situations that aren't comfortable or that do trigger you. Have that self-awareness. If something really triggers you, you make those boundaries. And yes, that's still inner work you need to do, but you can set the boundary to say, hey, I don't want to be in that situation anymore because it triggers me. And I'm doing the work, but there's no need to be putting yourself into places where there are specific triggers happening for you. Take yourself out, do the work, ease yourself back in if that's what you decide you want to do, and see if you've cleared those triggers. And this is why I say this is a lifelong practice. This is not something that's going to go perfectly. It's not something that every time you're triggered, you're going to be like, okay, here's my trigger. Now I'm going to respond. It's not going to be like that. You're going to have things and you're going to be pissed off and you're going to be like angry, but then the awareness kicks in and it goes, oh, wait, this is something that we get to work on. Right? That's the attitude. Okay, here it is. Now I'm going to process this and I'm going to get to the root of it. And even if I don't get to the root of it, I'm going to start clearing this, because it's going to happen again and again until you get to the root. And it may take it a few times to happen before you could get to the root and really fully clear it. This is the work. I say this to my husband all the time. When we talk, we have lots of conversations about personal development and this kind of stuff. And I always say, like, this, what I'm talking about right here, this is the real work of creating a fulfilling, satisfied, happy life. Yes, there's businesses we can create and strategies we can do, and there's things that we can do externally that help us live a good life. But really the real work is the inner game. Because literally, if you can get yourself to be satisfied without having the need for things to happen in a certain way or things to be in your life, if you can be satisfied, if you can be happy without all the external stuff, that's when you really win, right? That's true fulfillment. I have personally become more and more aligned to that way of being, that my happiness is the only thing that creates happiness is me. I don't need the things to create happiness. Sure, there are things that you can enjoy. There are things that you can have in your life because you desire to have them, and they make your life a little easier, but they don't make you happy. You make you happy. That's the point of what I'm trying to say here. And so when we're dealing with triggers and we're dealing with things in our lives that are, creating resistance or making us feel certain ways, we have to do that work, take the ownership and go inward and make the choice to respond to what's happening in a way that helps us process it versus stuffs it down. That's my 2 cents. Anyways, and that's really, a big piece of what I've been going through lately in both my personal life and my business. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of shifts. There's a lot of changes. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like 2023 is like, there's this energy of like clearing out what's no longer serving us so that we can make room for what is, we can make room for us to be our biggest, best selves, for us to be fulfilled and satisfied. But this work that we have to do, this work that we're constantly doing, but this work isn't always easy and not everybody's ready to do it. And I think sometimes when you are ready to do it, you might actually find you have more triggers than normal. You have more things coming up because you're ready to start processing some of this stuff. That's potentially why you're starting to see it, because it's time to deal with it. That is how it is really going here with me. And I wanted to share this with you because I feel like this is such a powerful topic. I think we need to have more conversations about this because if you are being triggered by things or you are feeling certain ways, you're not alone. And this is really how we need to work through those things. And we're all kind of moving through it. So more conversations like this, let's have them. If you enjoyed this episode, or if you have anything you'd like to share about anything you heard in this episode, please feel free to, you can always DM me on Instagram. I am Shayna Recker, or you can comment on the YouTube channel. I'm always checking the comments and I'm happy to respond in there. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. It's one day at a time. Like I said, this is a lifelong practice. So start today by creating the awareness around how you're feeling. All right, everyone, that's it for me. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Thank you guys so much for being here, and we'll see you soon.